At 3 a.m., I discovered my son's hidden secret in the backyard. What I unearthed touched my heart. Lisa's heart raced as she lay wide awake in bed, the anxiety of bills and responsibilities clawing at her mind. There was a heaviness in the air, a restlessness that shook her grip on sleep. Then a sharp sound broke through the quiet, a thump from the backyard. She slipped out of bed, the cool hardwood floor grounding her. Pulling on a sweater, she stepped outside, the night air crisp against her skin. The old oak tree loomed before her, its branches reaching out like the arms of an old friend. Memories surged through her father, a World War II veteran, telling her stories of its strength, its roots running deep, just like their family. With trembling hands, she began to dig into the soft earth beneath the tree. The soil felt comforting, familiar, like returning to a warm embrace. As she unearthed a rusted box, her heart fluttered. Dust and dirt fell away as she brushed her fingers over its surface, revealing a collection of her son Ethan's drawings tucked away inside. She gasped. Each piece was a story, a snapshot of their life together, moments of laughter during lazy Saturday mornings, chores transformed into game-like challenges, and memories of block parties where they danced under the shimmering streetlights. But one drawing made her breath catch. A vibrant community garden filled with flowers and vegetables, radiating life and color against the dullness of their own backyard. "Mom, I was hoping we could make it real," Ethan said shyly when she questioned him about the drawing during breakfast. His eyes sparkled with passion. "A space for us to grow food and bring everyone together." Lisa felt her heart swell. "We can do that, sweetheart." They embarked on the project with enthusiasm, digging up their yard under the warm sun, imagining the laughter of neighbors sharing fresh produce and stories. Yet as they weeded out stubborn roots, the reality of their neighborhood crept in. A few neighbors started voicing skepticism, claiming it was a foolish concept, while others hinted at deeper-rooted prejudices, challenging their resolve. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun dipped lower, their excitement began to fade, replaced by tension. Lisa could feel the weight of expectations and fears pressing down. With each word exchanged at community meetings, she saw Ethan's face filled with uncertainty, mirroring her own internal struggle. Bursting emotions brewed within her when a confrontation erupted at the last meeting, accusations cutting through the air like an impending storm. Lisa's heart raced as she whispered encouragement to her son, each word filled with love. In this pivotal moment, she faced an impossible choice: speak up for their dream or protect themselves. The uproar echoed in her mind, and she realized they were fighting for something far more profound than a garden. Against a backdrop of prejudice, they were yearning for recognition and unity. What would she do? Could they overcome the shadows like the roots of the old oak tree stretching deep into the earth? The night began to blur as hopeful determination swirled beneath the surface, leaving a storm of questions in its wake. The air was thick with uncertainty the following morning as Lisa prepared breakfast. The clinking of pots and pans felt louder than usual, echoing her anxious thoughts. Ethan sat at the table, his cereal forgotten, eyes glued to his drawings scattered across the table. He was quiet, and that silence was more painful than she anticipated. "Ethan, we can still do this," she said, pouring orange juice into glasses. "The garden idea, it's special." His gaze lifted, searching her eyes. "But Mom, they don't want us to. What if I'm just wasting your time?" "No, sweetheart, not at all," Lisa replied, kneeling beside him, her heart aching. "You're not wasting my time. You're bringing hope into our lives." Ethan managed a small smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. The doubt lingered like clouds rolling in, threatening the dream they had nurtured together. As the day unfolded, Lisa's resolve began to waver. They decided to visit the local town hall to gather support for their garden project and understand the resistance they faced. Hand in hand, they walked through the swinging doors, the dimly lit room buzzing with discussions about community projects. "Why don't we sit in the back?" Ethan suggested timidly, his voice almost drowned out by the chatter. Lisa nodded. She couldn't help but sense his discomfort. They settled into a corner, listening to discussions about budgets and plans but feeling increasingly invisible. Just then, a voice rose above the others. "We need to be careful about community changes," a neighbor protested. "We don't want our neighborhood to become a free-for-all. Gardens are a nice idea, but the unspoken word hung in the air: outsiders." With each passing moment, fury boiled within Lisa. No, they weren't outsiders. They belonged. They were trying to cultivate something real and beautiful. She glanced at Ethan, his spirit dimming further with every cutting word. Wood creaked beneath her, and springing to action felt unavoidable. She stood up slowly, drawing attention. "Excuse me," she said, firm yet trembling. "I know change can be uncomfortable, but our garden is a vision of hope, inclusion, and community. It's a chance to break down barriers." The room fell silent. Her breath caught in the depths of her chest. This wasn't a mere garden. It was a lifeline for everyone wishing for connection. Ethan's eyes widened, and for a heartbeat, his previous doubts seemed to lift, but Lisa's heart raced as she continued speaking, unprepared for the onslaught of skepticism brewing. "We can share fresh food, teach our kids responsibility, and most importantly, we can gather together as neighbors, as a community. Isn't that what we all want?" A mixture of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, while others scowled, arms crossed tight as if to guard against unwanted feelings. What will they say? Lisa wondered when she turned back toward Ethan. Fear was replaced by something more potent. Could this be the moment where barriers begin to melt? Just then, someone in the back stood up, a shadow of familiarity. As the figure stepped forward, Lisa's heart sank and then surged as she recognized them. It was an old friend from the neighborhood, someone whose respect she had sought out for what felt like ages. "Isn't this what we've been needing?" The friend spoke clearly, adding a thoughtful layer to the conversation. Lisa's heart raced again, this time with excitement. But there was still a long way to go. She connected eyes with Ethan, feeling his renewed hope. The battle for their garden was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than she had imagined. But as new voices began to chime in, would they unite behind the vision or fall into the same old divisions? Lisa felt a familiar unease settle in her stomach. What would the next step be? And could they weather the storm of uncertainty still brewing overhead? As the meeting continued, tension crackled in the air like static before a storm. Lisa's heart pounded as she watched new faces chiming in, some with hopeful words, others still locked in skepticism. The room felt electric, charged with the weight of what they all desired yet feared at the same time. "There's no harm in trying, is there?" A woman spoke softly, her voice shaking with resolve. "A garden could bring us together. We could learn from each other." Ethan's eyes flickered in her direction. Did he sense a shift? Lisa held on to that glimmer of hope while also feeling vulnerable. How could they steer this tumultuous conversation toward something beautiful? Clenching her fists, she took a deep breath. Just then, a deep voice interrupted the growing murmur. "I don't mind change, but what's in it for us?" A man in a worn baseball cap crossed his arms, his lips pressed into a line of skepticism. Lisa locked eyes with Ethan again. His expression was tense, and she wanted to shield him from the harsh realities presented. Taking a step forward, she spoke, "This is about more than just us. It's about every child who wants to learn and play, about every neighbor who feels disconnected." Her voice cracked slightly. "It's a chance for all of us to grow together." "Together," he whispered, and Lisa could have sworn the atmosphere shifted just a fraction in their favor. More voices began to rise, conflicting opinions curling around like smoke. "Maybe it could provide more fresh vegetables, maybe we could all work together." The tone increased like a remote engine revving. Lisa's heart raced, each beat picking up the tempo of possibility. While the discussions flowed, Ethan fidgeted beside her, drawing little patterns on his sketchpad. She could sense him wrestling with his own insecurities, sitting on the edge of belief and doubt. "What if they don't accept us even after all this?" He murmured quietly enough that only she could hear. She leaned in, wrapping an arm around his shoulders. "It's okay to be scared. But we're here to share, to teach, and to learn together. It's worth it, right?" A smile broke out on his face, though it was timid. It was enough to fuel her. That as the session dragged on, unexpected voices began to drown out the negativity. Faces started to warm, uncrossed arms signaling a softening stance, acceptance blooming. Yet, in the back of her mind, Lisa could feel a lingering shadow of doubt creeping in, reminding her of the old wounds in the neighborhood. Would this really lead to connection, or just further resentment? Finally, with the clock ticking towards the end of the discussion, Lisa reclaimed the floor once more. "We'll face challenges, but we can fight through them together," she asserted, feeling the room shifting beneath her like earth moving in anticipation. Building this garden isn't just planting seeds in soil. It's planting seeds in our hearts. With that, she could sense a new energy. Excited whispers threaded through the room. Someone proposed a community bake sale to fund the project. Another mentioned volunteers from the local school. But just as Lisa felt hope swell in her chest, glancing over at Ethan's inspired eyes, a voice sliced through the warmth. "Who will lead this? It sounds like a lot of work," challenged a neighbor from the front, throwing down a gauntlet that caught Lisa off guard. Who would step up? Her breath hitched as she glanced at Ethan, then back at the skeptical neighbor. She realized in that moment that this journey wasn't just about the garden, it was about the roles they would play in their community. Ethan, she thought suddenly, and her heart quickened. What if the answer lies within him? The implications rushed through her. Could he lead alongside her? Could he be the bridge they needed? She turned to look at him, the weight of the decision heavy yet infused with possibility. Would he be ready to step into the light? As silence enveloped the room, all eyes turned to Ethan. Lisa held her breath, knowing their shared dream now hinged on the boy next to her. Ethan's eyes widened, uncertainty flickering across his face as the room seemed to press in on him. Lisa could see the wheels turning in his mind, the weight of everyone's expectations hanging like a thick fog. It felt as if the air itself held its breath, waiting for him to respond. "Ethan?" Lisa prompted gently, needing him to know she was right there with him. "What do you think?" The boy swallowed hard, his fingers fumbling with the edges of his sketchpad. Moments stretched like taffy, raw and palpable with potential. Then something shifted within him, a small flicker igniting. He took a deliberate inhalation, shoulders pulling back. I can help," he stammered, his voice steadying as it echoed in the silence. "If we do this, I want to be involved, maybe even lead some days. I have ideas." A wave of warmth washed over Lisa. Hope coursed through her veins, making her heart soar. She exchanged glances with Ethan, a quiet understanding passing between them. This was a turning point and he was stepping into it. "See?" She smiled, wanting to reassure him as well as the crowd. "Together we can make this work. Ethan has visions for the garden, and I know we can blend our strengths." A murmur spread through the room, first whispers of surprise slowly growing into something resembling applause. Chuckles and nods arose. Acceptance was taking root where skepticism had once bloomed. The skeptical man in the front was still present, glancing back and forth with raised eyebrows, but he appeared to waver. "All right then," he said slowly, his arms beginning to unfold. "If we're doing this, let us hear what this kid has in mind." Ethan took a deep breath, the weight of the moment sinking in. "I want to plant vegetables that we can share. People from the neighborhood can come and help. We can learn about different plants and grow food together." His excitement was palpable, his voice growing stronger with each word. "Plus, we can create spaces for kids to play, so everyone can join in." Cheers erupted, pulling him further along in his own courage. The crackling tension of earlier replaced by the spark of possibility. Lisa beamed at him, her heart swelling with pride. She knew that this was not just about the garden anymore. It was about community, trust, and stepping into roles that had long been held back. Still, as hope filled the air like the sweet scent of blooming flowers, a sliver of doubt clung to Lisa's mind. She wondered how long this newfound unity would last. What if the old resentments bubbled up again when faced with the work ahead? "Let us plan a meeting next week," she suggested to the group, her tone now firm. "We can gather ideas, and I think it would be great for everyone to feel included in the process." Another voice chimed in, "We should have a kickoff event. Invite everyone early on to see what we're about." Excitement surged again. Ideas began to bounce around the room, painting a vibrant picture of what was possible. Yet, through it all, Lisa's gaze drifted back to Ethan, struck by his newfound confidence. The evening wrapped, but as the participants slowly dispersed, mingling in small clusters, Lisa couldn't shake the small sense of dread behind the joy. Was everyone on board? Would they encounter resistance when it actually came time to get their hands dirty? Ethan leaned in close, his voice barely a whisper. Do you think they'll really come back? What if they only showed up because we're doing something new? Her heart nearly ached at his question. They will, Ethan. We just need to keep planting and watering this seed of community. It's all part of the process. But even as she spoke, she knew deep down that maintaining momentum was a different beast altogether. Together, she said softly. As they stepped outside, the sky darkened overhead, the first stars appearing like distant dreams. That night, a deep resolve settled in Lisa's heart. Tomorrow would bring more questions and challenges, but for now they had passed a turning point. But what if tomorrow came with unexpected storms? Would their fragile hope withstand the test? The thought sent a chill through her as they walked toward home, hands clasped tightly together. In the quiet of the night, the soft chirping of crickets filled the air as the chill settled in. The streetlights cast faint shadows, creating silhouettes of trees swaying lightly in the breeze. It felt peaceful, almost like a blanket wrapping around them. But as Lisa and Ethan walked home, a quiet voice in Lisa's mind whispered worries that wouldn't let go. Ethan's grip on her hand was steady, but she felt the charge of his nervous energy. She could sense the excitement he had just moments before was edging back toward uncertainty. What would happen when they had to dig deeper, both literally and metaphorically? The question nagged at her. She glanced sideways at Ethan, his dark hair tousled by the wind, his expression thoughtful. What's on your mind, buddy? He hesitated, then looked up at her, his bright eyes reflecting the flicker of the streetlight. What if we try really hard and it's still not enough? What if people give up? Lisa crouched down, bringing herself to his level. I know it's scary to think about that. But we can't control what others do. We can only do our best together. And that's what matters. Remember, growth takes time. Like a seed in the ground. He nodded slowly, but she could see the doubt still lingering in his gaze. As they approached their home, Ethan suddenly stopped, his curiosity piqued by a flicker in the shadows. Wait! He cried, pulling her slightly back as he pointed toward the backyard. Lisa turned, squinting into the darkness. What is it? He darted ahead and she followed, heartbeat quickening with curiosity. The yard was dimly illuminated, but something caught Ethan's eye. He began to scurry toward the small garden patch they had barely used since summer. Look! He exclaimed, kneeling down before a mound of soil that seemed altered from the rest. Kneeling beside him, she brushed her fingers over the dirt, feeling something uneven. What did you find? His hands were trembling slightly as he dug at the earth, and soon a small wooden box emerged, buried like a secret waiting to be unearthed. Ethan looked up, his eyes wide with wonder. What do you think it is? With a mix of excitement and trepidation, Lisa brushed off the dirt, revealing intricately carved designs on the box's surface. It seemed old and special, but what it held inside remained a mystery. Let us see, he said, and with a determined twist of his hands, he opened the lid. Inside they found a collection of worn photographs, each one telling a story of families gathered, children laughing and gardens flourishing. There were notes, two little bits of wisdom written in faded ink, lessons about patience, community, and the value of planting seeds, both in gardens and within each other. Tears pricked Lisa's eyes as she sorted through the images and notes, understanding now that this ancient trove resonated deeply with their current journey. Their neighborhood had not forgotten its roots. This box had been a witness to many beginnings and transformations. What do you think it means? Ethan asked softly, his eyes shimmering with understanding. It means, we're not alone in this, she replied, her heart swelling. Others have stood where we are and have thrived. But just then, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the yard. An ominous sound that shattered the heartwarming moment. Dark clouds suddenly rolled in, cloaking the stars above, signaling a storm that rattled the very ground beneath them. Lisa's heart raced. We should get inside, Ethan. The storm is coming. As they scrambled to gather the photographs and box, the wind howled, scattering leaves like confetti in a wild dance. But deep inside, amidst the chaos, Lisa felt a flicker of hope and dread. What awaited them on the other side of that storm? Would the lessons from the past be enough to weather the trials ahead? Ethan's small hand slipped into hers as they darted towards the house, both eager and fearful of what was to come. The wind surged around them, a wild beast trying to blow them off course. Lisa glanced up, dark clouds swirling ominously overhead. She tightened her grip on Ethan's hand, feeling the weight of the moment. They rushed toward the back door, heartbeats racing, excitement and fear mixing in a whirlwind inside her chest. Once inside, they slammed the door shut, the sounds of howling winds and rustling trees muffling their breaths. "Let us put everything on the table," Lisa said urgently, her voice slightly shaking. They carefully laid out the photographs and notes from the box, the faint scent of damp earth still clinging to them. Ethan's eyes sparkled with a mix of wonder and worry. "Do you think we're safe?" he asked, peering out the window. The branches outside writhed like they were creatures in distress. Lisa nodded, though a part of her felt the storm was not just outside but creeping into their hearts as well. "We'll be okay. We always find a way." She wanted to reassure him, but uncertainty loomed large. They set to work, trying to make sense of the treasures they had unearthed. As the winds howled, the past flowed through the photographs. Lisa pointed to a picture of a boy her age, laughter bright on his face as he played with a garden hose. That was probably someone's best summer ever, she mused, and Ethan smiled at her nostalgia, momentarily distracted from the raging storm. But then he paused, running his fingers over a note. "Mom," he said, a sudden seriousness in his voice. "These lessons, they seem important. Like they're saying something we need to hear." Lisa leaned close to read the note with him. The faded ink read, "Patience is the soil where dreams take root," and her heart ached with the truth of it. Before she could respond, the power flickered, the whole house trembling from the force of the winds pounding against it. "Stay close," she shouted, her own fears bubbling up. Ethan's grip on the note tightened. What if we're not ready for the storm? Can we make it?" The tremor in his voice echoed her own doubts. Her mind raced back to the lessons they had just uncovered. "We have to be brave," she said, kneeling down to meet his eyes. "Not just for ourselves but for everyone. We can't let fear win." They took a moment, looking at each other, strength rising between them like sap from a tree. Lisa could feel the warmth of his determination, and it lent her a pinch of courage. "Together we can face anything," she whispered as they turned back to the collection. A deafening crash rang out, louder than the storm's fury. Something fell nearby, sending shivers up Lisa's spine. "Ethan, stay here. I'll check." With cautious steps she headed toward the door. The storm felt alive, like it wanted to swallow them whole. But they had uncovered history. It meant they were part of something bigger. The door groaned under the pressure of the wind as she peeked outside. With all her strength she opened it slightly and gasped. In the dim light, shadows danced along the garden. There, within the chaos, a bright glow flickered at the center, beckoning her to explore. "Ethan, come," she called, fear racing at her heels. They had unearthed wisdom, but what lay ahead might change everything. Would the treasure they found in the garden connect them deeper? Or would it lead to more storms? As she stepped back into the tempest, a part of her whispered that perhaps, buried deep within the chaos, there was a new beginning waiting just for them. But what was it? The air grew thick as Lisa and Ethan stepped outside, the swirling winds wrapping around them like a blanket of unease. The flickering light pulsed between the monstrous shadows in the garden, mixing allure with apprehension. They shielded their eyes against the gusts, trying to focus on where the glow seemed to be coming from. Each step felt heavier than the last, but the promise of discovery pushed them forward. "What do you think it is?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above the roar of the winds. Lisa shrugged, feeling that primal mix of curiosity and dread. She couldn't ignore the tugging feeling in her gut, drawing her closer to the light. "Let us find out," she replied. Though uncertainty lingered in her tone as they neared the source, the glow became more defined. It illuminated a small mound in the ground, half buried under roots and debris. Ethan hesitated, glancing back at the house where safety felt so tangible. Maybe we should go back inside, but Lisa felt a pull. A strange connection, as if the universe wanted them to dig deeper into the mystery of the past. "Just a little closer. I think we're supposed to be here." Kneeling beside the mound, Lisa brushed away the dirt and leaves, revealing a weathered wooden box. Its corners were rounded, the craftsmanship a testament to a time long gone. The light pulsed again, brightening as though it recognized their presence. "Help me, Ethan," she exclaimed, her heart racing. Together they pried it open, the lid creaking in rebellion. Inside lay handcrafted items, old toys, a faded, worn-out blanket, and what appeared to be a journal. Ethan leaned closer, reading the faded script. "This feels like someone's childhood," he murmured, his brow furrowing. Each item told a story. It felt like opening a portal to another life. As Lisa sifted through the contents, an unfamiliar emotion swelled within her. She hadn't just found a box of memories, but a window into resilience and dreams shaped in adversity. She briefly glanced around, feeling as though the storm was more than just nature's wrath. It was a testament to struggles past. "Wait, there's a note," Ethan said, pressing down on a piece of paper tucked beneath the blanket. He unfolded it, revealing a message in neat handwriting. "To whoever finds this, remember that storms are part of life. Embrace them. In the chaos you'll find your strength." The words resonated through Lisa like a familiar song. Instinctively, she and Ethan shared a look, and in that moment, silence enveloped them. The weight of their journey together clicked into place, fueled by this newfound wisdom. "Wow, it's like they knew we'd be here," Ethan whispered, awe coloring his voice. "Exactly," Lisa replied, awakening to a realization. Living meant facing storms head-on, just like they were doing now. This is why we found the notes earlier. It's a sign. We're not just uncovering someone's past, but gaining the tools we need for our future." Suddenly the wind screamed louder, a fierce reminder of the chaos around them. They both felt the tug of safety calling from inside the house, but there was something captivating about this moment. "Should we keep looking?" Ethan asked, uncertainty shadowing his eyes. Before Lisa could answer, the ground began to shake, rippling with an energy that felt alive. The storm outside intensified, echoing their internal conflict. The hairs on their arms stood on end, and a chill swept through the air. "I think we need to go," Lisa stammered, eyes darting back toward the house. Yet an undeniable tension gripped her, as if they were on the cusp of an even greater discovery. What if the journal held secrets that could change everything for them, or perhaps the storm was more than just a distraction? With hearts racing and anticipation mounting, they faced the choice: retreat to safety or delve deeper into the unknown. Lisa looked at Ethan, knowing the decision they made could alter their lives forever. What if they were destined to learn something extraordinary, something that could ground them amid the tempest raging outside? A new adventure awaited, but would it bring healing or another storm? The tremors intensified, shaking the ground beneath them like a monster awakening from a long slumber. Lisa grasped Ethan's arm, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. "We can't just leave," she insisted, her breath coming in rapid bursts. The urge to flee conflicted with a deeper compulsion to uncover what lay hidden beneath the soil. Ethan stared at her, eyes wide with fear, but a flicker of curiosity ignited within him too. What if it's dangerous? What if it's best to go back? "We could call someone." "No." Lisa's voice rose above the cacophony of wind and tremors. "What if this is our chance? What's the worst that could happen? We find something that changes everything we think we know." The look Ethan gave her was hesitant but intrigued. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, assessing the thrill and fear of the unknown. Something deep inside him echoed Lisa's sentiment. "Okay," he said finally, his voice still shaky. "Let us see it through." They both knelt again by the box, the light pulsing stronger, illuminating their path to what felt like providence. As they continued to sift through the contents, a high-pitched whine filled the air, cutting through the chaos like a siren. Lisa's stomach dropped at the sound, but she pressed on, gingerly lifting the journal from the box. The journal's leather cover was worn, the edges fraying, but the clasp held tight. Ethan leaned closer, his breath catching. "What's inside? Let us find out." Lisa pressed the clasp open, and as she did, the whine intensified, vibrating in her bones. The pages flared golden under the garden's light. She flipped through the entries, eyes racing over inked memories. She documented her life. "Look at this," Lisa whispered, welling with emotion as she read aloud. "Today was hard. I felt the storms coming. No one understood my dreams. But I wrote them down, and that gave me hope." A lump formed in her throat. This was someone who faced terrible things, yet still believed in better days. Words spilled from Ethan's lips, surprised and amazed. She wasn't just writing about storms. She saw them as a part of her life to embrace. It's poignant. The wind howled around them, echoing the resilience in the words they uncovered. But with each sentence, the laughter and cries faded into an ominous presence. The skies darkened, and the light coming from the box began to flicker erratically. I don't like this, Lisa. It feels wrong, Ethan said, pushing back slightly, instinctively grasping her shoulder. Their connection felt both exhilarating and frightening. What if digging deeper unraveled something dark? Maybe this is where it gets more complicated, Lisa breathed out, an electric energy coursing between them. Maybe these aren't just memories, but they're tied to this place, to us. In the journal, Lisa found a map drawn in dark ink, leading to another spot in the garden. Look, there's more to uncover, Lisa said, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. What if this is what we've been looking for all along? But then the ground shook with such ferocity that Lisa lost her balance. She barely caught herself, but Ethan stumbled back, fear gripping his eyes. Is this really worth it? He called out, the storm rallying as if in answer, splattering raindrops onto their skin. As Lisa stood firm, clenched the journal tightly, she felt a fire ignite within her. Yes, it has to be. I don't know why, but I feel like we're supposed to find what's next. The storm won't stop me. The journal pulsed in her hands, and beneath her, the map seemed to glow brighter, beckoning them to choose. Ethan stared at her, torn between doubt and the spark of uncharted possibility. What if it leads us into more chaos? What if it leads us to the answers we desperately need? Lisa countered, her voice unwavering. But just as Ethan opened his mouth to protest, the wind howled one last furious cry, and the ground beneath them began to slip away. Run! Lisa shouted, but deep down, a sense of inevitability swept over her. Would they find refuge, or would the storm bury their hopes deeper than they ever imagined? The darkness was closing in, and the unknown called out to them fiercely, urging their next move. The world spun for a moment as the earth shifted violently beneath them. Lisa stumbled forward, her feet barely keeping her upright. Ethan, gasping, threw himself toward her, their hands linking like lifelines in the chaos. Come on. We have to make it to that tree, he shouted, pointing to a sprawling old oak nearby. Its gnarled roots were sturdy, offering a place to hold on against the thrumming ground. The wind whipped around them, a chorus of shrieks and roars, but Lisa couldn't look away from the glowing journal still clutched in her hand as they reached the tree. The chaos around them seemed to amplify. What do we do now? Ethan's eyes darted to the hills, where dark clouds were rolling in thick and menacing. Maybe we can find something there, Lisa said, motioning to the glowing map where her fingers brushed the ornate drawings. This must mean something. Those map lines could lead anywhere, Lisa. We don't even know if it's safe. Ethan's worry spilled over with every hurried breath. But someone inside her clamored for answers. What if it leads us to a truth we need? We can't just stop now. Ethan hesitated, but something about her determination pulled him in, igniting his own wavering courage. All right, show me, he finally urged, glancing at the darkening sky as if it might swallow them whole. Taking a breath, Lisa spread the journal open again. The light pulsed brightly, and she traced the lines of the map, which led them deeper into the garden. It's right here, look, she pointed at a small mark drawn at the base of the tree. It says there's something buried. The blinding rain poured around them, soaking Lisa and Ethan to the bone as the darkness enveloped their world. Together they peered into the rusted box, fidgeting with anticipation. The storm raged on, but her heart raced for different reasons now. What lay before them could change everything. Gingerly they lifted the lid, the damp smell of old wood filling the air. Inside, an assortment of trinkets sparkled in the muted light. Tied together were colorful ribbons, tangled dreams captured in a past long gone. And there, nestled at the bottom, was a book, its pages worn thin but filled with stories of hopes, dreams, and the very essence of community. Ethan's eyes widened. What is this? He leaned closer, entranced by the words calling out from the pages. As Lisa turned to the first page, a warm glimmer caught her attention. It's a journal, she said, her voice filled with awe. But not just any journal, it's a story of dreams from our neighborhood. They wrote about challenges, but also about the gardens they planted, the community events, and how they always gave each other second chances. The rain poured around them like an orchestra, but in their little bubble of discovery, time felt still. Each entry rang with the laughter of children and heartfelt milestones, weaving the fabric of what had been and what could be. Memories flooded back, memories of her father, the veteran, nurturing growth wherever he could, from gardens to lives. Her heart soared as the realization sank in. This wasn't just a box of memories, it was a guide. Look here, she pointed to a passage. It says the moment we shared our wildest dreams, that when everything changed. Ethan's grip on her hand tightened. Mom, we have to share this with everyone. It's like they were writing our story the whole time. The spark in his eyes ignited another within Lisa, touching a place deep in her heart. This wasn't just about a single garden. It was about planting hope in every soul that had ever felt overlooked. Across the garden, lightning illuminated their surroundings, the old oak standing sturdy like an unwavering promise amidst the chaos. We can bring this back to life, Lisa declared, a determined smile unfurling on her lips. Together, we'll remind everyone what this community is capable of. It was time to sow not only seeds in the soil but seeds of unity, resilience, and love. They stood together, bonded by a shared vision, revelations rushing through them. Do you think they'll understand? Ethan asked, uncertainty flickering across his face. But Lisa knelt beside him, wiping the rain away from her eyes with a resolute nod. We have to believe they will. It begins with us right here in this moment. As they raced back towards the house, the storm began to soften, clouds parting to reveal little violet rays of dawn peeking through. The journey ahead may be fraught with challenges, but they were not burdened by fear anymore. They held a piece of history that unlocked futures for each neighbor, a promise of community strength ready to flourish. The next morning the air was fresh, the world renewed. They gathered around the oak tree, inviting neighbors to see the treasures unearthed. Whispers of curiosity flowed through the crowd like a gentle breeze, and Lisa could feel Ethan's hopeful energy intertwining with hers. This, she began, her heart pounding in her chest as she faced the gathering crowd, is a story worth telling. Our story. Let us build on it together. A ripple of murmurs spread, the doubts of yesterday slowly waning as more stepped forward to listen. With each word spoken, Lisa made sure it echoed the dreams and laughter captured in the journal. She shared how the storms they faced had forged connections that were resilient, and how they could harness their collective strength to create a blooming community garden that didn't merely grow plants, but cultivated bonds. As Lisa and Ethan engaged with their neighbors, she caught sight of that skeptical man from the meeting, standing at the back with his arms crossed, face softening as hope sparked in his heart. We can fight the storms together, he finally said, stepping into the light. I'd like to help. Cheers erupted around them. The garden transformed not just by seeds, but by an explosion of laughter and understanding. The sun broke through, warming their skin as growth began to sprout not only from the earth but within each person standing there. Their spirits lifted there, amidst the flowers and vegetables about to bloom. Lisa felt the essence of their journey. They had indeed weathered storms, unearthed buried treasures, and through it all they had found each other. Standing proud and determined, she gazed at Ethan with tears of joy and a radiant smile. This was just the beginning. They would face more storms, but now they understood the real strength of community. Together, they would cultivate a garden of dreams and connection that would flourish for generations to come. Be part of this journey. You need to subscribe now to not miss out on more stories that inspire and transform lives. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us grow this community.